Howdy, everybody. It's your host, the one and only Pluto, also known as Trolling Knees, your main man at PGES. I'm just here to give y'all a mini announcement, a very, very short announcement. I'm not going to make this long and I'm not going to make this stressed out. We're just going to get straight to the point. I'm going to do a brief explanation and hopefully you guys are paying attention. All right, so the first thing that I want to announce is the stories that are upcoming for 2024 and 2025 and so on and so forth. So they're not in order. I'm just going to say the story, briefly explain it so you guys can understand each story, where is it going to be, where it's going to be posted, and hopefully it can advance from there. So the first story that I really want to talk about at first is Academy 03. Academy 0 is basically, how can I explain it? Think of like Soul Eater, but instead of it being more about like Soul Eater, it's not Soul Eater. I can't really explain it, but it's like Reapers and so on and so forth. Our main man of the hour, Kiddo. In a nutshell, Academy 03 is about his kids. Yes, he has kids. I'm not gonna explain how he get the kids or who did he marry and so on and so forth. Just know it's about demons, it's about gods, and it's about realms that are out of this world, and it's connected with another story that we're going to talk about down the line in this video as well. But Academy 03 is expected to come out in 2024. But before we get to Academy 03, we have to do 1, 2, then leading up to 3. But 3 will most likely be in 2024. So I do not want you guys to worry about that. The next story is Rising of the Heaven Kingdom. I almost butchered my own story. I can't believe myself as a story person. Alright, so that story is about an assassin who is an angel. That is the best way for me to summarize the story. Now, the assassins are also known as pirates. I don't want to really explain why they're pirates, but just know when you see assassins, they're also known as pirates. So the two words can like coexist in this world that we're talking about. And the main girl of the story, her name is Trina. It was hard for me to come up with a proper name for her because I didn't know what to call her, but her name is gonna be Trina. I don't know her last name yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. And that story is going to launch maybe at the end of 2023. That's what I'm trying to go for that one, but that's a little iffy. It's a little iffy with that one, but our girl Trina, the main protagonist, in fact, in Playground Studios, she is going to be the first female protagonist. All right, so it's kind of like an interesting thing. I gotta really keep up with my females, you know what I'm saying? Gotta shout out everybody. All right, so we have that one. This story is one of my first stories that concluded some years ago and finally getting a cartoon, Red Blood Moon Saga. Now, I cannot stress how much the protagonist is such a badass in this story. Like, he's not even just your average protagonist. He's like that protagonist when you see him, you know some shit's gonna go left, and he's gonna be the main reason. You know what I'm saying? His name is Akame. Now, Akame is kind of like in the beginning of the story, he kind of grows up having envy towards his family, especially towards his brother because of his father. And then later in the story, it kind of shifts into his favor, and then he starts to see why the father didn't pick him for certain reasons. But hey, it's a pretty good story. All I'm gonna say is, if you like vampires and you like a good old ass whooping, you're most likely gonna love this story. Part 2, it's about Silver Knights. It was originally called Dawning Knights, but I changed it to Silver Knights. It's a reason why. The Knights are basically like a thing in this story where when you see a knight in his world, it's kind of like a, damn, that's a celestial right there. That is a being beyond our like concepts. And Akame is able to talk to them and interact with them. And all I'm gonna say about that one is it gets pretty intense. It gets pretty crazy. I can't really explain why it gets crazy, but just know that the second part to the original part is getting insane. And that is going to come out We are trying to hit for a 2024, but I'm going to comfortably say it might hit 2025 because that story is going to be some heat, and we got so many other stories on the way. It's just so insane. Now, this next story that I'm going to talk about, it's actually a crowd favorite when it was released. Like, when it was out there, everyone somehow liked this story. I don't know why, but I guess it just attached to people. The original story is called Ground Zero, but the part that I'm going to be talking about is called Ground Zero Infinity. Now, how can I explain this? Our main boy, if I want to call him that, is kind of like a god in this universe. Not your average god. Like, he is the god of creation in this world. How did he get there is the longest way I can explain it. He was gifted from a scientist that experimented with him by kidnapping, manipulation, and so many other things. The story is actually kind of has some hard-hitting topics that some people may not be comfortable with. Me personally, I believe it's topics that, I believe other stories touched on, but they don't really touch on it. Ground Zero has 5 installments. That's how long the series has been going. Sometimes it's been on a long hiatus, so it doesn't really have a lot of chapters. Other times it's not really on a hiatus. It's just on a brief period of not being made, but it's being kind of touched on, worked on. Then it's like a sudden announcement, another installment for Ground Zero. Ground Zero is kind of like the main reason why every other story in the manga universe happens. I want y'all to keep that in mind. Ground Zero is the sole reason of why, the Red Moon Saga happens, why Oblivion happens, why Marvelous Chronicle happens. That story kind of is the reason why all those other stories happened. I don't want to explain why, but you basically have to read it to understand why I'm saying that. But it's going to be a good story. I think you guys are going to like it. Just had to put it out there. Next thing we have is a comedy favorite. One of my favorites. Have one of the best main characters ever that I have ever created. Nexi Days. Alright, so if you guys are familiar with my series Nexi Days, I'm going to put it in a nutshell. Nexi Days is a straight up comedy about a bisexual Neko that became a human, a rich chef's child that literally was experimented on, so he's not human, to die and get resurrected in the form that he wanted to be in. Let's get that out the way. Then it's about 2 Reapers. One name is Black Star, the other name is White Star. And they have interesting stories themselves. Put all of that together, boom, it's Nexi Days. I cannot express how many people love Nexi Days. I wish it was still available, but due to the whole situation that I had as a company before I changed the name and everything, all the stories kind of went down. Plus, I kind of lost the files, so it kind of was a lost cause at this point. So, all I can say is about Nexi Days, it is a pure comedy sensation. I think every single chapter you guys will laugh at. There's not one chapter you wouldn't be there and be like, oh, this is too serious. Oh, this is too much. No, it just executed to the point you're like, oh man, this shit is actually fire. Nexi Days 4 is a long time coming. It wasn't going to be touched after Nexi Days 3. That was supposed to be the end of it. But sadly, unfortunately, Nexi Days 4 is the last installment of the Nexi Days series. There will still be movie plots and special plots on the side and everything like that. But when it comes to the main story, Nexi Days 4 is the last installment. There is no Nexi Days 5 or 4.5. It's this last installment. Nexi will be used for other things, and that's pretty much it. That's all I can really say about Nexi Days. I know you guys will enjoy it, and it's going to be a lot more than what I have done before. It's going to be a lot more adventures, a lot more shenanigans, and I just can't wait for you guys to read that. All the Nexi Days, Nexi Day will be officially out really in 2025, because it's a lot in his story that I had to really explain, and I just realized Ground Zero is going to come out in 2024. Yeah, I don't think I really said that, but yeah. Ground Zero 2024. 90 Days 4 is in 2025. Most likely it's gonna be a 2025. And the last one that I really want to talk about, because everyone was happy when I re-announced it, is Plutoverse Comics. I haven't touched this dang series in so long. Basically, it's the comic verse of everything. It's about me, my character named Pluto. You know what I'm saying? Because he was a character before I made him into an ego. Actually, no, he was an ego, and then I made him into a character. And the comic books are kind of different from the novels and the mangas. It's just a different entry out of all of them. I have multiple versions of me, and they're doing multiple things. One's a rock star from outer space. Another one got kicked out of his home, and then he wants revenge. Another one is just straight up a comedy. Another one is a fighter that wants to be the best one. It's kind of different, you know what I'm saying? The situations are definitely different. It wouldn't even remind you of nothing in the mangas or in the novels. It's just a completely different entry, and it's going to be worked on again, and it will be done again in 2024. I cannot say how excited I am to work on the comic books again, because the comic books was really something that I kept because I really wanted, I really wanted the comic book to be a main thing, but I didn't know how to really go forward with it because I was doing good and then I stopped it. And you guys may be wondering, well, where is it? Why haven't we read it? Why isn't it on the internet? I took it down. Some of these stories was taken down. Some of them I physically took down myself. They're going to be posted again. I'm trying to rebrand myself. So that's why none of these stories are really available. The only one that's really available right now is Oblivion. And Oblivion hasn't been updated in a month. So we got to work on that one too. I just want to say those new stories are some of the shorter stories. I would go into more details about them, but like I said, this is a mini announcement. This is not a big announcement, so kind of want to make this pretty brief, short, and sweet. This was the briefest way to explain each and every single of these stories. If I was to go in detail on each stories, this video would actually be an hour, maybe 2 hours long, because that's how much detail are in these stories. And there's the Q&A, and everyone's wondering, what are these stories exactly? Don't want to really get into all of that. But this was the announcement, so hopefully this brought back the light of potential fans or potential people that want to read these stories. All these stories are coming out pretty soon. On the plus side, what I can say is Oblivion will be getting an updated chapter by this weekend. Yay! And that's pretty much it. And besides that, hope you guys have a blessing day, and we will see you later. Even though it's a one-man team right now, I'm gonna say we, because potentially in the future I could get a whole team behind me to work on this, because this project, it's Project Last Day is going to be one of the best crossover stories. There is no convoluting nothing. The Last Day will be 2026 without a doubt, and all the stories are going to hit you with nostalgia out of so many years of you reading it. You're going to be amazed. That's all I can say. I'll see you guys next time.